Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. All things Leeds United with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever, Mr. Jason Booker. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, mate. How are we doing?
You've got a brewing coming. I've got mine here ready. Yeah. It's a little bit low though, so I don't know if the missus is watching. That'd be good.
On the text.
Yes, yeah, just a hand with another cup. Good stuff. Welcome along to the show. Hope you're all having a fantastic Friday. We're getting close out to that crazy period where we don't know what day it is. Christmas, Boxing Day, New Year, all that good stuff. So hope you're doing well. Rizlaman, morning gents, morning mate. Please smash a like on the video, get your comments in, get subscribed to the channel as well. Going to be chatting about January transfer windows, Crystal Palace previews, looking at all sorts really. But Jason, another quite relaxed week in the world of Leeds United. It's always a good week after a positive result, and some kind of reflections on the Brentford game. A very strong point, I think, in terms of how we performed. I thought we were the better team and probably disappointed we didn't win the game really, which I think is quite some position compared to how we've kind of viewed away games prior to that. But just happy that we were able to get another point on the board and also a really good performance with it.
It's testament to where we've kind of come from and the development that we're making. You know, the fact that we can go away to Brentford, one of the most informed teams in the Premier League at home, and not only get a point but deserve to win the game and outplay them for large parts. Especially when you consider how poor we've been away from home. Outside of the Wolves performance, you could argue that we maybe looked okay against Fulham, but we've not had too many great performances and we've certainly not had any good results. We've lost the other 6. So there's a serious step up in where that kind of result sits and that performance. We said going into the game, performance was absolutely vital to see how we kind of set up in that 3-5-2 away from home. How would it look? How would it kind of actually work out on the pitch? And yeah, we were good. There were lots of really, really good points, and unbeaten in 3. You know, on the back of the Manchester City defeat now, you know, we've looked solid. We've looked solid since half-time against Man City. I mean, I would argue, and I've been arguing this point all season, that we've actually looked all right for large parts of the season for a team that's expected to finish 17th. I really would say that. So, cup of tea.
There we go. Lovely.
I would make that case. I would, I know there's been some disappointing away performances. Daniel Farke very much had his backs to the walls at one point, didn't he? That wasn't that long ago. But I do think that the results have gone now a little bit more in line with actually how we were playing. I think fans have a hard time separating performance from result, and I get it. Because the only thing that really matters once you get to the end of game week 38 is the results. I hear it completely. But there does need to be some context in the performances, I think, anyway.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I think it was kind of unfortunate because it felt like we're heading away with Farke, and the fact that he's been able to turn it around, obviously we've thrown this chain. It's also interesting that obviously we got the results against Liverpool and Brentford when we were behind, and he's changed formation and tactics again and got the points as well. So there's that flexibility there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that for me, the most encouraging thing is our staying power, our resolve, resilience to it going wrong, the determination that the players are showing to do it for him. Because we've had so many opportunities to go under. I mean, against Man City, we were really, backs to the walls kind of stuff. We were going into that in terrible form. We come out in that second half and they showed that they really wanted to play for Daniel Farke. Chelsea, we obviously played the way that we did. Liverpool, we were behind twice. We were 2 goals down, then we went behind again. I mean, if the heads were ever going to fall, it'd be after we came back from 2 goals down. When they scored the 3rd, it'd have been easy for that team to chuck it in. They didn't. Brentford away, we dominate most of the game. We deserve to be in front. We go behind. Did they chuck it in? No, they didn't. And for me, I think that is worth its weight in gold for us over this season. Having a team that are really in it together, really in it for the manager, is actually more important than having maybe a higher profile manager on paper that doesn't have the players behind him. Like, nobody can argue it with me. The players are absolutely 100% behind Daniel Farke. If they weren't, he'd have already gone, because we'd have ended up getting thumped a couple of times and he would have been removed. I think that's clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think in that crucial moment, the players have really kind of performed for him as well, because if there weren't, there would have been temptation. Look, a bad result against Chelsea, following up Man City, they'd probably been gone, or the Liverpool one, he'd have been gone. So if players weren't bothered, they would have done it, wouldn't they?
I think the second half against City, that would have been the case. We were 2-0 down, we'd got battered in that first half. If they really wanted him out, if they weren't behind him, they'd have come out in that second half and rolled over and would have got beaten 5 or 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. So,
no. Good morning, gentlemen. Morning, Robbie. Thanks for your comment. Second half performance versus City could be the change in our confidence away from home, indeed. Lee, hard game tomorrow. I think it will be a point. Yeah, we'll get to a preview on that as well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, big story, obviously, and it's interesting because it's really kind of grabbed the headlines as DCL's form. Obviously, he's got a big reputation. He's played for England before. He was on the Sky after the game, and I mean that in itself is a remarkable kind of thing to see, isn't it? Because I mean, how many people were kind of slating that as a sign? I mean, I personally thought, I don't know what we're getting. He's injury prone. We hear all the XG stuff, and then you look at him now, and you're thinking, there's probably a way that he could be on that plane to the World Cup if things fall into place for him, and if he keeps his fitness and his form. I mean, it could happen for him.
100%. I mean, for me, he's the best striker we've had since Chris Wood. I think he's all round game.
He's another. I mean, I don't want to turn this into slating Bam for any previous strikers we've had in that period, but when I watch DCL, I feel like I'm watching a top like player. Do you know what I mean? A top striker who knows what he's doing at this level.
Like, the finishing can be a problem at times, for sure. I don't think he's as bad of a finisher as people make out. I don't think he's as bad of a finisher as Bamford, as an example. I think Bamford is far more flaky in front of goal. I think Calvert-Lewin's got a bit more predatory instinct about him, and he's so good in the air as well, which then makes up for a large part of that. But everything else that he does, his effective pressing, his hold-up play, he's very, very smart, he's intelligent, he wins free kicks in perfect places. Like, he knows how to play that role extremely well. There's a reason that he's played 11 times for England. The guy scored 4 goals for England, and all they might have been against whoever. Like, I don't care. Like, playing 11 times for your country is still, especially a country and the nation as prestigious as England is, and the players that come through, is a hell of a feat. So I think he was overlooked because of the injuries. I think he was then kind of downplayed because of the XG and the lack of goals over the last few years. And I'm more than big enough to say I didn't understand the full plethora of his game before seeing him in a Leeds shirt. And now seeing him fully firing up and running, he very well could be the difference. He really is that important to the way that we're playing, especially in this 3-5-2. I think he's even more important in this 3-5-2 than he was in the 4-3-3. So because in the 4-3-3, it kind of dictated that he got involved a little bit more in intricate play. It's a little bit more built for him in the hustle and bustle, the stuff that's not really that glamorous. I mean, for me, he absolutely bullied the Brentford defenders at the weekend. He really did. He had them all over the place at times. So yeah, I think it's an excellent sign. And as long as he can stay fit, you can't grumble.
Exactly, absolutely. Michael, morning, Browney and Jason. Unusual time for you guys to be on. Yeah, unusual day. We have been doing a normal thing.
Browney's fault.
I know, my fault this week. But we're on normally. If we're not on a Thursday morning, we'll definitely be on a Friday morning most weeks. Great stuff. Hi, welcome along. Thanks for your comments. Interesting comment from Daniel Farke in the presser yesterday, talking about how diligent and humble Perry is in trying to improve distribution. Reminded everyone how all the players bought have their challenges, but that made them affordable, which I think is a fair comment. Now, I've seen quite, so much about Perry's kicking from the weekend, and there was a brilliant comment from Jay, actually, which just summed entirely how I felt about it, where it's like he's kicking the ball long. You've got 2 presences up there. Like, what are we expecting here? Him to be like, Perlo. I mean, his job is to... That save, by the way, that he makes from Strauch's error, that's a really big turning point. And I think it's been overblown, this distribution thing with Perry a bit. I think we need to kind of put it to bed a little bit.
Wildly overblown, mate. I mean, I think his whole performances have been wildly overblown. I think he's made a couple of mistakes, but being a goalkeeper is the most difficult position on the pitch. Fact. It is literally the most difficult position on the pitch. Even if you ask outfield players, they'll tell you being a goalkeeper is literally a nightmare. I mean, you've got the goal line right behind you for a start. Like, any mistake that you make usually results in a goal, whereas that's not the case for every other player that's out there. Great point in case Pascal Struijk makes a mistake, Lucas Perry bails him out. You don't get that luxury as a goalkeeper. And I think for a kicking point, I mean, what do we want? Do you want Kevin De Bruyne in net and then not saving any shots? We've had this conversation for the last 4 years with Illan Meslier. Illan Mellier's kicking was predominantly pretty good. Yet, I remember us having this debate, Browney, when we were talking about dropping him out of the team. And I was playing devil's advocate saying it's not as simple as that because you lose the kicking distribution. And now everybody's like, oh, well, I'd rather him be worse at saving shots than better at kicking. No, you wouldn't. And going on that, I don't think his kicking's anywhere near as bad as what people make out. Like, he's going long into an area. For him to hit that on a dime every time it's not possible. Outfield players wouldn't do that. How many times do we see
movement as well, isn't it? The striker, DCL's going to be moving about. It's like he don't just stand there and go, right, the ball's got
not a static target. Yeah. And like, how many times do you see an outfield player, Rodon, Struijk, one of the midfielders, play a long field pass and it go out for a throw-in? It happens. It happens to them as well. So when he's going long, and bear in mind, in this formation, we are putting him, I would say over a 90-minute game, he's maybe going long 40 times, 50 times, sometimes on his left foot, sometimes under pressure. Like, what are you expecting? And sometimes it's actually more productive for the goalkeeper to aim into the channel and it go out for a throw-in, and then you play higher up the pitch and try and keep them in there, than it is for you to shank it into the middle of the pitch, the ball gets turned over and you're getting counter-attacked. I say this all the time, and I always know that I sound like a dickhead when I say it. But fans don't understand what's actually happening in front of them when they're watching it. Like, there is so much more credence in Perry will be instructed to aim towards a channel rather than the centre. And some of it will actually be on Calvert-Lewin to make that movement, or one of the strikers to make that movement into that channel. So sometimes when you see a ball go out of play and it looks like a bad kick, it'll actually be the striker's fault. But you'll blame the goalkeeper because he's the one that's kicking the ball. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And against Chelsea, he was having to kick again and again and again. I mean, he must have kicked the ball. I mean, Christ, it must have been 30, 40 times. It was absolutely insane. Michael, I disagree. DCL is not an England level player. There are stronger candidates than DCL for the England squad, such as Bowen, Watkins, Kane, Rashford. DCL just needs to concentrate on getting better for Leeds.
I think there's some reality in that. However, that pool of strikers that you've just mentioned there, you could arguably say that you've mentioned two inside forwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Bowen and Rashford are not out and out nines. Yeah. So, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I think there is. I don't think Calvert-Lewin will get on the plane either. But there's a reason that he's been part of the squads before. He is of that level. I mean, he definitely is at England level, and it depends on what you're taking. If you're taking Bowen and Rashford as nines, fine. I can take that case. But I would say right now there is Kane and Watkins as an out-and-out nine in front of Calvert-Lewin. Maybe you could argue Ivan Toney, but given the situation with him and Saudi and the problems that he's creating off the pitch, I would struggle to think of many more out-and-out nines that are better than Calvert-Lewin, personally.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as an option, can you imagine, if you're chasing something or something? I mean, he's a disruptor, isn't he? You stick DCL up there and hit it long, and you'll be away. Lee, just bring up your comment as well. It would be nice for him to get on the plane next summer. He seems to have the bit between his teeth. I'm not sure what DCL contract position is. It seems to me he's playing to make a point. Yeah, he definitely seems to have that bit between his teeth. Absolutely. Okay, so moving on to potential January transfer windows and exciting signings and things coming up. I want to throw some names at you, Jay. I just want to kind of get your take on what you think of them as a player, and if it's something potentially that Leeds can do. First name on my list, Kobe Mainoo, not really playing much for Man United at the moment. Young England player, midfielder, could offer something different to what the others can do in that position. Obviously, hugely talented, big potential. What do you make of that one? Would you like to see it? Is it realistic? What do you make of that one?
I mean, any sort of transfer like that is going to massively improve our squad, but I mean, I saw the interview from Amrin the other day, and it was basically coming out and saying it was only going to be a ridiculous fee that we're going to see Mainoo move. The facts are, is after that, anything can happen. Like, stuff changes in football. I could definitely see a loan potential, but I don't know whether they would loan him to us in the same league. I'm not so certain on that. He's a talented footballer. He would seriously improve our midfield options. It depends on the outgoings. I think, before you go into kind of any transfer talk, I think it very much depends on who goes the other way. I think there's got to be we're basically at capacity for the squad size anyway. So there's got to be some movement going the other way. I hate to get into this, but I've seen so many comments this week online with regards to, again, just finding something else to bash Farker with. And this week it's been Harry Gray not getting minutes, and Harry Gray should take the minutes over Perron. Genuinely, this is truth. Saw somebody say the other day, Mbappe, Haaland, Rooney and Owen all got to play at 17, so why isn't Harry Gray? To which I then responded with, you realise that you've mentioned 4 players over the last 20 years that were generational talents that ended up being some of the best players in the world, and his response was, Harry Gray's at that level. He's not. He's not. Like, you're talking about the 1% of players, Browney. You are talking the very, very upper echelon. So, but yeah, just coming back to my point, I think it is going to be massively dictated by who we see go out the other way. I don't think that we'll see loads. I really don't. I don't think we'll see a lot at all.
No, I mean, reporting the YEP, it was saying according to club chiefs, the profitability and sustainability position is tight. So if they wanted to make permanent purchases in January, they would have to either sell someone prior to June 30 or pull some other financial levers to balance the PSR book. So I think you're right. I mean, just before we kind of cover the rest of the ingoings, because we've moved on to the outgoings. I mean, Peru, obviously, there's a big question mark there. Is that someone that you could get a decent amount of money for? Someone like Jack Harrison, maybe. I mean, I don't know if is there something that could do there. I mean, he's not really getting much time at the minute. I mean, who else? I mean, it's like we said in the summer, we don't have loads and loads to kind of sell and kind of come at, really, do we? It's kind of a much of a muchness. So before we get excited about signings, I suppose we have to think about who we can kind of get off the books. But I mean, is there an argument where this is where you have to be super aggressive? You have to kind of churn, you have to make things happen, because otherwise you can't make any movements. And I do get the feeling, Jay, that the position we've put ourselves in, we've got to try and seize on this. We're in 17th. We're going into January. We're going to be, even if we next couple of games we drop into that bottom 3, we're going to be close. It feels like there's an opportunity if you could just lift that quality a bit, or just 1 or 2 additions here or there that would really improve us. I think we've got to try and find a way to do it. I think if we just sit on his hands, like we did that window under Bielsa in the second season, where we got a couple of wins and we decided not to do anything, and then suddenly injuries, this and that, and we had nothing. I just feel we've got a bit of an opportunity here, and let's be aggressive, let's be active, let's try and let's make something happen. I know I don't have a clue how it works and what the inside scoop is. I'm probably way off with that, but I just feel like we've put ourselves in such a good position. Let's not be too conservative about it.
I agree with you completely. I think we have to be really bold this window with the likes of Perot and yeah, we have to be pretty brave. It may even result in us selling someone that is a little bit more of an asset. Willing Onto comes to mind because of the amount that we bought him for, to the PSR limit that we'd be able to get. I saw somebody in the stream that we did the other day say that we should be getting 25-30 million for Perrault. You're literally living on cloud cuckoo land. I can't remember who it was, but I said 15 to 20 million is where we would probably be at, and I think that is pushing it because he's had a couple of good seasons at Championship level, but now not played at the Premier League. He's 2 years into his contract or whatever, in which we paid, I think, 12 million. So I think 15 to 20 would be the absolute max that a Championship club or Eredivisie would be prepared to pay. But at the minute, we are gaining nothing for him being part of the squad. Nothing. Outside of the opening game of the season, where I thought he played really well, by the way, against Everton, he's not impacted any game, any situation. So while I don't agree with the Harry Gray sentiments, there is an avenue to say, as a third choice backup to replace Perrault, you might as well have him and then go out and make a statement signing that's going to make a real difference to the squad when you move him on. I'd argue, the same could be applied to Willing Onto. And I mean, obviously, Jack Harrison. The problem is with some of these is that they're on massive wages and you're not going to get the feedback that you need. So maybe selling Perrault for 15 million will allow us the scope to be able to do a loan to buy on somebody if we stay up, of somebody that's going to be significant. That'll give you some leeway, whereas I don't think a Jack Harrison would, even though it'd be good to get rid of him, because we won't then get anything on the back of it. You might as well keep him as a body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the same goes for Brendan Aronson. I like Brendan to a point, but because we paid 25 million for Brendan and he now is probably worth 10, 7, maybe, you're selling him to receive you're actually doing yourself in, because you won't be able to replace him to any sort of level because you won't have the PSR limit. So you might as well keep him as a body. That's the problem that we're in, and that's the consequences of bad recruitment. This is a position that puts you in.
Yeah, because I'm looking. I've got the squad list up here, Jay, and it's slim pickings for things. I mean, in the summer we didn't really get any. I mean, there were no interest in any of it. Wasn't really in the summer? We couldn't get rid of anyone.
Did you see that we got Sam Greenwood, the 2.6 million or something from a Polish side? I'm pretty sure that was
a record sale. Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. It could. I mean, that could actually be an issue next summer. I mean, obviously some players may be in better reputational positions if we stay up. If you look at someone like Stack, or maybe even if Okafor has a fire rest of the season, Calvert-Lewin, you never know. There could be things like that potentially, but for January it's going to be tricky. Other incomings that have been linked with Brendan Johnson, obviously not getting much time at Spurs. What do you make on that? No chance in hell, or would you have someone like him? What do you make of him as a player? He's a bit of an odd one, isn't he?
I like him a lot, Brendan Johnson. I think he'd add to the squad really, really well. I think he'd give us an air of creativity and a goal scorer that we don't have in them areas of the pitch. We do have goal scorers within this side, but out wide and in the creative elements, we don't really have that. You could argue Okafor maybe, I guess, but I really like Brendan Johnson. There ain't a chance in hell he comes to Leeds, though, mate, in my opinion. Have you froze, by the way?
No. Yeah, I'm just going to quickly move my router. I'll be back in.
Yeah. And I don't see Brendan Johnson standing any chance of signing for Leeds personally. I think Bournemouth are interested. I think there's others that are that would be in for him as well. So I don't know what the chat thinks, but I mean, I'd love Brendan Johnson, but I just don't see a world in which he signs for Leeds. Not in this window anyway. Maybe at the end of the season, if we've proven that we can stay up, maybe we could fight for them kind of signings. But I just think there's clubs in the gap in between that. I'm going to bring up some of your comments while we wait for Browney. West Ham United have Premier League pedigree, but they are vulnerable with not replacing the better players that have left with better quality. Players, Nuno is a good coach for them, but Leeds have to capitalise. Yeah, I mean, I think West Ham are in a funny situation because I think there's more to the West Ham dilemma than what's on the pitch. I think the fans are creating a real problem for themselves right now in terms of the way that they're, I'm going to say, behaving. I don't think they're really getting behind the team. They're making the home ground a real problem to play within, which is a massive problem for a team that's down at the bottom. And then they've not replaced the better players when they've left. And I think they've got some problems within the ranks as well. If you look at the attitude of Lucas Paqueta as an example, they can't get Fulkrug fit ever. He's one of their better attacking players. They've then got big gaps where the likes of Potts is having to come into the midfield. He's not good enough. I think the back line's got real problems. I think the bought on reputation, players like Tobido, who hasn't fulfilled his potential. I think they're just in a really weird spot, West Ham. I don't think they're on their own, though. I think Fulham are very similar. Didn't really progress during the summer. I just think they've got a little bit more of an established squad, and they're a little bit more settled than West Ham feel. So, yeah, interesting one.
Just back on transfers, hopefully that's sorted out now. I've given it a nudge. Interesting one here that came up. A bit of a forgotten name of English football at the minute, Raheem Sterling, Jay. Obviously, I mean, I think he's only just turned 30 maybe, so you can't believe it really because he feels like he's been around forever. Obviously, he got into Liverpool very young and that kind of thing, and has had so many highs, achieved so much as a player, but obviously the Chelsea move has just completely not worked out at all. Someone like him, Jay, I mean, is it realistic? I mean, could you see something like that happening? And what impact would a Raheem Sterling? It would feel like another one of those signings where it's a player with a point to prove, who, if you can get him up to a good level, I mean, wow, it could be an incredible signing.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I think there's potential big negatives with it. Obviously, there'd be a big contract, and whether we'd be able to negotiate something where we're not paying a lot of that, I don't know. I think he's quite a decisive figure, just from what you see on the media, and I don't know where the reality of that actually sits. How good would he be for the dressing room, given how tight this dressing room is? You don't know. But as a footballer, if you could get anywhere near what his level is, back out on the pitch in a Leeds United shirt, it'd make a significant difference. His experience would make a significant difference. Do I think he'd sign for Leeds? I don't think so. I think Chelsea would just be in a position of being like, look, you go there and you play for what they're prepared to pay you for, which, let's just say, for argument's sake, it's $100,000 a week, right? And he's on 350 down. Or you stay here and you make up reserves and we'll pay you. I think that is the position that they will be putting him in. They don't seem to be very, conscious of the. I mean, they never have been, have they, Chelsea? They've had this situation with players before where they've been kind of left in the graveyard or in the bomb squad, as they call it. And I just don't think that Raheem Sterling would do that. And I don't know if I would do it if I were in his shoes either. I don't know how long he's got left on that contract there, but $250,000 a week extra for the next 6 months sounds pretty nice. I just don't. Yeah, I don't see him sacrificing that, and nor should he sign that contract. So, yeah, I think, unfortunately, it's a real sad state of affairs for Raheem Sterling. But I can see him probably mutually agreeing to terminate a contract at the end of this season, or I don't know when his contract finishes, leaving on a free at some point, and he'll either retire really early. I can see that happening with Raheem, or he'll disappear to Saudi or MLS or something like that and see out his days. I don't see him coming and having the hustle bustle of a relegation battle with Leeds, personally.
No. I saw a thing, and it's quite a while back, and they said he had clocked up the equivalent amount of games as like a 35-year-old, just the amount he's played earlier in his career. And it's almost like, if you look at kind of the lifespan of a footballer and longevity, the number of games he'd reached by age 28, 29, it was someone a lot older. And it was
really early, didn't it?
And it's almost that kind of explains why there's that kind of little bit of a decline as well. But yeah, it's a shame for him, but we'll see what happens. Moving on then to tomorrow's game, Jay, massive game against Palace. We had Farke's press conference yesterday. Nemecha, unfortunately, is out. And I would just love to see DCL and Nemecha. I want to see that partnership. I want to see a few games, but unfortunately, he's not quite been able to shake off the hamstring. So we're looking at Okafor. Okafor was in for some praise from Farke yesterday. And so we're gonna see that again. Longstaff apparently is getting back as well. I think another fantastic option for us as well. I don't think he'll be available tomorrow, but hopefully over the Christmas period he will. Crystal Palace, interestingly enough, Jay, I mean, they've basically changed their entire 11 for the Europa Conference League yesterday. And Glasner said he's going to rotate completely. And you look at the team yesterday, you're like, there's no Wharton, there's no Mateta, they're all out. So they'll probably be, you would think it'll be full strength tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting one, that Crystal Palace having another very good season, Jay, but they've got a couple of black clouds in the distance. You've got Glasner's contract expiring. It doesn't look like he's going to sign a new one. Matt Gay, his contract's expiring and you're looking at probably losing him for free, or do you sell him and make a bit of money in Jan? So there's a couple of issues there. But, I mean, if you're a Palace fan, you're kind of in a bit of a dream period at the minute, aren't you? You've had longevity in the Premier League. You've won an FA Cup, a domestic trophy, and you're playing in Europe. I mean, Christ, I'd swap with them in a heartbeat. But couple of issues from long term, but again, it's at Ellen Road tomorrow, Jay. Feels like we've always got a chance. How do you see this one panning out?
Palace are literally the dream right now for us, aren't they? They are, like, we've said this when we're watching the Cup final, didn't we? And you know what, I quite like it, if I'm honest. I like to see it. I really enjoy watching Palace. I've watched them a few times this season. They're good to watch. They've got some cracking players in them ranks, I love Mateta. I think he's just a throwback, but he's also quality. The lad is just quality. He's a machine. The guy's a tank. He's got no confidence issues. He misses, he scores the next one. Like, he's just elite. I really like him. I think you'll see Mateta probably step up another level at some point. I really like Adam Wharton. I think he's, again, quality. The way that he dictates games, his passing range, his game awareness of what's going on around him. They're built on a solid back line. Gay's obviously quality. I think Dean Henderson's really coming of age as well. I'd argue he's really staking the claim for the number one spot. Munoz at right back, real intelligent fullback, scores a lot of goals, gets in really, really good places. They've just got it all over. And they've even getting a tune out of the lad that were at Watford. Forget his name now, it just slips me, but the No, Senegalese lad. And he's been there for a few seasons, but he's been hitting a bit of form this season. So yeah, they're a problem. They are definitely a problem. They got pretty humbled by Man City at Selhurst Park last weekend. That's another thing with Crystal Palace as well. They've got one of the best grounds going. It's proper traditional. It creates a real atmosphere. I mean, I've been to something like 50 something of all the grounds in this, within professional football, and Crystal Palace stands out as my probably a favourite away day. The atmosphere is sensational. Like, they really do make it hostile. It's just got a football league ground feel with a Premier League atmosphere. And Premier League football, it's just class. I really, really like it. And it's right in the depths of that part of London where it just feels hostile. It feels hostile when you get off the coach and everything. It's just class. So, yeah, love them as a club, to be fair. And, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem tomorrow. Would I probably take a point, even at Ellen Road? I'd have to say I probably would. I know it's just another game where we've only got a point, but I think they add up, and I think they add up against these teams that are serious challengers. Now, I'll put them into a similar kind of category as when we played Bournemouth. And I know Bournemouth have had a bit of a difficult patch since, but Bournemouth came to Ellen Road with an expectation that they were going to walk over us, and we totally outplayed them that day. I wouldn't be surprised to see that game either. We beat a very good Chelsea side only a week ago. We're a good side at home. We're a very good side at home. We're very competitive. So I'm going into this game hoping we can win. Wouldn't be surprised if we win. Also wouldn't be surprised if we lose. It's a very, very 50-50 game at Ellen Road. But I'm hopeful, given the form that we're on, that we can get something out of the game. And I think that'd be massive. If we can go 4 unbeaten in the Premier League, however that kind of transforms, I think is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And is it an opportunity? We mentioned West Ham earlier. I mean, they're away to Man City. Yeah. So you're thinking, I mean, if the stars align, you can be sitting there Saturday night, or I don't know when West Ham playing actually, but you can be sitting there at the end of the weekend with potentially an even bigger gap to that bottom 3. Hopefully, that's how it works out. But yeah, I mean, Leeds at home were just a different beast, aren't we? And if we can kind of keep that momentum going from the last few games, I'm looking at players like Stack now, who just, he's come alive, hasn't he, these last few games, Jay? And, can Okafor, impact games even more? Can DCL keep his form going? It suddenly feels like we've got something to really kind of look to as a reason to why we can get something from games.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's built within, the desire, the determination first off, and then actually the tactical and the formation structural stuff is actually a little bit second. It's obviously vitally important, but at the minute we are we're making a team that is more than it's some of its parts. Like that's how it feels when I'm watching us play. The likes of Ampadu, Tanaka, Stack really leading from the front and growing into games. Calvert-Lewin using all of his experience. Like we are bridging the gap as much as we possibly can through the way that we're setting up and then the way that they're applying themselves during the game. And, what we're allowing at the minute as well is confidence to breed. I thought that for first time in a long while against Brentford, we saw a confidence away from home. That we've not seen in a long time. There was a belief that the players could express themselves. And again, the great thing with this team is that even when the backs are to the walls and we needed to get a result, we're capable of doing that as well. I actually think mentality-wise, I think this team is really strong. Really, really strong. I think technically, I think there's deficiencies, but mentally, there can be no question that they're at it.
Yeah, and when you touched on that earlier, I was thinking immediately to the relegation year. And how we weren't like that at all. We were brittle. If we conceded a goal that year, we would crumble. I mean, perfect example, Crystal Palace at home. That's the last time we played Palace at home. I mean, just to kind of reflect on that briefly, I mean, have you ever, I can't remember a more weird kind of result and performance. I mean, it's fascinating. If you look back on the channel, me and Jay did a review of that, and I think we were both absolutely stunned because we were winning 1-0. We were playing some nice stuff.
We were excellent first half.
Excellent, absolutely excellent. Rocker, and we were knocking it about, creating chances. Bamford looked lively, and then it was like something happened half time.
We conceded just before half time, didn't we?
Just before half time, yeah.
And then we were kind of adamant that something must have happened at half time, and the reports are that nothing did happen. Like there has been a couple of people asked about it. I think even Stuart Dallas was asked in an interview about it. And nothing happened apparently, but it seemed impossible to believe that given the way that we came out in that second half. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a second half as bad as that at Ellen Road. It was so bad. I mean, we got literally walked over. They were walking through us, mate. Yeah, it was really bizarre.
And it was an extraordinary scoreline as well because it was like we've been doing 5-1. Yeah, 5-1. We've been doing well under Gracia up to that game as well. We'd had like a kind of mini revival. We'd beaten Wolves away and got a couple of points here and there, and then it all crumbled down. But I think if you're looking at the mentality of this team and this group of players, it does feel like a very kind of a much stronger group. You look at someone like Ampadu, who we didn't really have anyone like Ampadu in that team. No. Someone who, in that midfield, I mean, look, Tyler Adams might have been that if he'd have stayed fit, but it didn't happen. You look at Ampadu last week against Brentford, I thought he was absolutely terrific. And I think we've got that in spades. Rodon, I mean, God, how we would have cried out for someone like Joe Rodon that previous time we're in the Premier League. Players like that, Jay, who've got that mentality and that fight and that will. Hopefully that's what can see us through.
Yeah, like I said, the sum of its parts is more than the individuals. Together, these are a team. I've had a back and forward with regards to the debate of whether this team is better or not than the one that we went down with. I don't think it is, but I think as a team it is. I think there's a collection as a team that makes this a team. It makes it stronger. I think that team had more individuals. Chris Somerville, Jorginho Rutter were both in that squad. Yes, young. But Sinistera, I mean, we don't have any of them. Obviously, we had Rodrigo as well, Tyler Adams, Mark Rocker. Mark Rocker is a serious operator, but it didn't work within that team. And Robin Koch, who's gone back to play for Germany since leaving Leeds United. We did have a very, very good set of, well, not very, very good, but we had good players within that team. But it didn't work. The structure of the club was a problem. The management was a problem. Again, this is why when people are so desperate to sack Daniel Farke, you need to look back and remember how unstable we've been and how much of a problem that can create. We look, don't we, like we're on course to hit halfway of the season outside the relegation zone. That's a massive achievement. Massive achievement. You know, the best I felt like it could go this season would be that we would dip in and out of the relegation zone, and we might get away with it in the last 2 or 3 weeks and be able to stay up. Like at the minute, we've been in the relegation zone for 1 game week.
Yeah, absolutely, it's phenomenal, really. I'm begging. I don't think they will, but I'm begging West Ham to sack Nuno and panic. I really am. I just think if they sack Nuno, I just don't see it going well for them after that, because they'll enter exactly what you talk about. They will enter the chaos zone where you're just turning managers, you're desperate and everything. Why is it not worked better for West Ham? I've got to admit, when West Ham and Nuno, it felt like a perfect fit for the type of players they had. Why is it not quite happening? I know they've been close. You know, they were beating Brighton till very late, and they've had a couple, you know, they were beating Villa, and then what's happening there? I mean, you know, because that's going to impact their confidence.
It's kind of coming back to the conversation that we're having with Michael's comment earlier. Like, I think that there's a lot of issues there.
Yeah.
Ownership issues, fan issues. I've spoken about it with the Leeds fans before, mate. And, you know, we don't realise just how impactful we are as a fan base.
Yeah.
You know, and at the minute, West Ham fans won't want to wear this, but I'd say it to any that wanted to come on and have a conversation about it. They are creating part of their own downfall. They think that they're kind of doing what's right, and you know, they're sensationalizing this situation. I'm not happy with the home ground, right? Fine, get it. But you are now impacting your results on the pitch.
They drove Moyes out. No
They
doubt.
drove Moyes out after he was unbelievably successful. They then, over the last 2 seasons, they've created a plethora of issues at home. I mean, how West Ham, a fan base that is so passionate, and they are a good fan base, but how they can create as bad of a home form as what they've experienced over the last 2 seasons is beyond me. I think they'd won 2 games at home last season, mate. Like, that is unreal. That is unreal. So I think there's that. I think then you are looking at the team. You know, I think outside of Jared Bowen and Lucas Paqueta, they've got very little quality. I think Mateus Fernandes will be good, but he's 21. You know, putting a lot of hopes on him. I think the back line is a real problem. I think they've got a very, very average goalkeeper. He's all right. I mean, he kept him in it away at Bournemouth the other week, but he's a pretty basic all-round goalkeeper. And again, if you're going to be one of them teams that's going to struggle week in, week out, you need a pretty decent, solid goalkeeper. They struggle for goals from other places other than Jared Bowen most of the time. They have no real out-and-out striker. You kind of hanging your hopes on Callum Wilson, who is an older, more injury-prone version of Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
So, I just think they've got a whole host of issues.
Long may it continue.
If it means that we stay up as a consequence, I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly before we finish up, just some other threads just to pull up before we do go. Burnley away at Bournemouth tomorrow. It feels like Scott Parker, I know there's a couple of things I'm seeing today where he could be getting closer to the axe there. It felt like they were putting up a good fight earlier in the season, but it's kind of, you know, I think it's 7 games on the trot they've lost or something. It just feels like it's maybe heading one way for Scotty P down there, but you'd struggle to see if they could even change it up that much if they brought someone else in as well. I mean, God, you know, with their squad, I can't see it really.
They stand no chance. Like, I know we finished on 100 points. We both finished on 100 points. We've got a better manager. We've got a better team. I know the beaters. I mean, for me, it's probably the worst result of it is the worst result of the season. If we could have taken a point there, we'd have been probably cooking right now. Like I said, I don't think I could have come under half of the conversations that he has. We have got a better team. We've got more at his disposal. We've got more creativity. I mean, right now, their best player is probably that Ugochukwu, who was at Southampton last season, and he can't. I mean, he can't do it on his own, can he? They've just not got anything. They've lost their most prized assets as well in James Trafford and Egan Riley. I know they kept Esteve, but they were built on that back line, of which I think 3 of them went, because I think one of the fullbacks went as well. Got Kyle Walker, who I did think were a good signing. Lost Josh Brownhill, who scored 17 of their goals last season. Like, they don't stand a chance, mate, if I'm honest. They don't really stand a chance because they were never going to be able to bring in the quality. You know, Burnley are not going to be able to recruit an Anton Stack. They're not going to be able to recruit a good Munson or an Okafor. It's not being rude. It's just the truth. Like, they had to sign Jadon Anthony on a permanent. And when it was going well, he was scoring. I mean, that tells you everything, doesn't it, about the way that their kind of side's built. So yeah, I think they're pretty screwed.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty screwed. Just to answer Skip's questions very quickly, because I know we need to finish off. I think we've talked openly about 38 points, haven't we? On this one. 38 points. I think between 36 and 38 is where it's going to be. I think it's going to be high in comparison to previous seasons. And then this one, I think there is. I don't think we can be that delusional that we'd just be able to say our whole 11 starts over their whole 11, but it's certainly few and far between. I really like Okachukwu. I think he's a really, really good player. I think Fleming has shown himself. Fleming's shown himself to be pretty decent. I'd say Kyle Walker is a smart signing. And whether he'd start over Jaden Bogle or not, I'm not sure. But I think he's very, very experienced. I think we actually need a few more of them. Esteve, I would put in this team. I'd play him in a back three ahead of Pascal Stroik every day of the week. He's very, very good as Esteve. There'd be a few.
Yeah, good stuff. Excellent. Right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much to everyone who commented. If you've not already done so, if you can like the video, get subscribed to the channel as well. Myself and Jay, we will be back at some point. Jay, when are we going to do this? Are we doing it post-match review tomorrow? Can we do it?
I've got a really, really, really busy day, busy weekend, and tomorrow I might end up missing a little bit of the early part of the game, depending on what time. I'm out in Manchester at 6. Ooh. I'm hoping I can be back by 8. We'll see. Ooh, yeah. If I miss it, I miss it. I might be one that I just have to miss a bit of, but we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. But yeah, we will be back for the post-match review, so do stay tuned for that as well. Thank you very much for watching and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you. Bye-bye.